Dr. Karen Phillips walked slowly through the museum on the horizon's edge. Behind her, 15 students followed closely. They were all looking at the displays with wide eyes.
Karen was a teacher and a historian.
She taught about how humans traveled from one place to another throughout history. The museum was special. It didn't have real objects. Instead, it used holograms. These were three-dimensional images made of light. They looked real, but you could walk through them. "Class, look at this," Karen said. She waved her hand and a hologram appeared. It showed a large ship floating in the air in front of them. This is the SS United States. It was launched in 1952. It was the fastest passenger ship of its time. It could cross the Atlantic Ocean in less than 4 days. A student named Danny raised his hand. He was 15 years old and very smart. "Professor Phillips, why did people stop using ocean liners to travel?" "That's an excellent question, Danny," Karen said with a smile. She waved her hand again. The hologram changed. Now it showed an airplane. This is a Boeing 707. It started flying in 1958. This plane could cross the Atlantic Ocean in just 8 hours. Suddenly, ships seemed very slow. By the 1970s, most people chose to fly instead of sailing. Another student, a girl named Lisa, looked confused. "So ocean liners just disappeared?" "Not exactly," Karen said. "Humans are creative. When ships weren't needed for travel anymore, we changed what they were for." She made the hologram change again. Now it showed a huge modern cruise ship. This is the Voyager of the Seas, launched in 1999. It carried almost 4,000 passengers. But these people weren't trying to get somewhere fast. They were on vacation. The journey became more important than the destination. Danny was still curious. What did they do on these ships? Karen expanded the hologram to show the inside of the ship. The students gasped. They could see ice skating rinks, rock climbing walls, theaters, restaurants, and swimming pools. These ships became like floating cities, Karen explained. They had everything people needed to have fun. Ice skating on a ship. Can you imagine that? People in 1912 would have thought that was impossible. She moved to the next display. The ships kept getting bigger and more amazing. The Oasis of the Seas in 2009 carried over 6,000 passengers. The Symphony of the Seas in 2018 was even larger. These weren't just ships anymore. They were engineering miracles. Lisa raised her hand. "But Professor, how did we get from those ships to this one? To a ship that flies in space?" Karen's eyes lit up. This was her favorite part to teach. That's the beautiful part of the story. When humans started going to Mars in the 2040s, we didn't start from zero. We used everything we had learned from building ships on Earth. She brought up a new hologram. It showed a timeline. On one side was the Titanic from 1912. On the other side was the Horizon's Edge from 2125. Between them were hundreds of ships, each one a little better than the last. "Look at the pattern," Karen said. The first steamships were small and uncomfortable, but they got bigger and better. The first cruise ships were simple, but they became more luxurious. The first spaceships were cramped and dangerous, but we made them comfortable and safe. "How did we make them safe?" Danny asked. "By learning from every mistake," Karen said seriously. "The Titanic sank because it didn't have enough lifeboats. So we made a law. Every ship after that had to have enough lifeboats for everyone. The Titanic couldn't call for help fast enough. So we invented better radios and communication systems." She showed them another hologram. This one showed a ship called the Andrea Doria. This ship collided with another ship in 1956. 51 people died. After that accident, we made better radar systems. We made rules about how ships should communicate when they're near each other. "Did people keep dying on ships?" Lisa asked quietly. "Sometimes, yes," Karen said honestly. In 2012, a cruise ship called the Costa Concordia crashed and 32 people died. It was terrible. But we learned from it. We made better rules about training the crew. We improved evacuation procedures. Every tragedy taught us something. She walked to another part of the museum. The students followed her. The first real space cruise liner was called the Celestial Dream. It was launched in 2087. The designers used everything they knew about cruise ships and combined it with space technology. It had comfortable rooms, restaurants, entertainment areas, and most importantly, amazing safety systems. Karen pulled up a comparison chart. It showed an old ocean liner next to a modern spaceship. See the similarities? Both have multiple decks. Both have dining rooms and sleeping quarters. Both have entertainment areas. But the spaceship has something the ocean liner never had. It has 6 backup systems for life support. It has escape pods for every passenger. It has walls that can seal automatically if there's a problem. 6 backup systems? Danny said. Isn't that too many? Is it? Karen asked. What if one fails? Then you have 5 more. What if 2 fail? You still have 4. We learned that lesson from the space shuttle disasters in the early 2000s. We learned it from the Titanic. We learned it from every accident in history. It's better to have too many safety systems than not enough. She showed them footage of a safety drill on the horizon's edge. The students watched as crew members practiced evacuating passengers. Everyone moved in an orderly way. Everyone knew exactly what to do. This ship we're on right now, Karen said, is the result of more than a century of learning and improving. Every feature, every safety system, every comfort was designed based on experience. The comfortable beds came from luxury cruise ships. The emergency systems came from lessons learned in disasters. The entertainment areas came from decades of understanding what passengers enjoy. A student in the back raised his hand. His name was Charlie. Professor, do you think ships will keep getting better? Karen smiled warmly. Absolutely. Humans never stop improving. Right now, engineers are designing ships twice as big as this one. They're planning generation ships that could travel to other star systems. These ships would be so big that people could live their whole lives on them. Whole lives? Lisa said, amazed. Yes, imagine a journey that takes 50 years. The people who start the journey might not live to see the end, but their children or grandchildren would. The ship would need schools, hospitals, farms to grow food, everything a small city needs. Danny looked thoughtful. And all of this started with the Titanic? Not exactly, Karen said. Humans have been building boats for thousands of years. But the Titanic disaster was a turning point. It showed us that we couldn't be careless. It showed us that safety had to come first. It taught us that every life matters. She made the hologram show the Titanic again. The students looked at it quietly. It was a beautiful ship, with 4 large smokestacks and elegant lines. When this ship sank, Karen said softly, it could have been the end. People could have said that the ocean was too dangerous. They could have given up on traveling by ship. But that's not what happened. Instead, humans said, we will do better. We will learn. We will make sure this never happens again. And we did, Charlie said. Yes, we did, Karen agreed. We made better ships. We made better rules. We trained crews better. We invented new technology. And when we went to space, we took all of that knowledge with us. The class was quiet for a moment, thinking about what they had learned. Finally, Danny spoke. So when we travel on this ship, we're safe because of everyone who came before us. All the people who learned lessons and made things better? Exactly, Karen said. Every engineer who designed a better hull. Every captain who followed safety rules. Every crew member who trained hard. Every person who survived a disaster and shared what they learned. They're all part of why this ship is safe. Lisa looked around the museum. It's like they're all here with us. In a way they are, Karen said. Their knowledge is built into every part of this ship. When you walk through these halls, you're walking through history. Every safety feature, every comfort, every system is a gift from the past. She gathered her students together. Remember this lesson. Humans aren't perfect. We make mistakes. But our greatest strength is that we learn from those mistakes. We don't give up when things go wrong. We figure out what happened and we make sure it doesn't happen again. Is that why we're better than other species might be? Danny asked. Because we learn and improve? Karen thought about the question carefully. I don't know if we're better than anyone else. But I do know this. We care about each other. When the Titanic sank, the whole world mourned. People demanded change. They wanted to make sure no one else would die like that. That compassion, that determination to protect each other, that's what makes us human. The students nodded, understanding. They looked at the timeline again, seeing the long path from 1912 to 2125. It was a story of tragedy and triumph. It was a story of learning and growing. It was the story of humanity reaching for the stars while keeping each other safe. Benjamin Cole had been working with passengers for 23 years. He started his career on cruise ships that sailed Earth's oceans. Now he worked on spaceships. His job title was Chief Passenger Experience Officer. That meant he made sure everyone on the ship had a good time. Benjamin managed a team of 300 staff members. They were stewards, entertainers, guides, and helpers. Their job was to make every passenger feel special and safe. His communicator beeped. It was Nicole, his assistant. "Mr. Cole, we have a problem in Section 7. Benjamin walked quickly to the family recreation area. This was a large space with games, activities, and play areas for children. When he arrived, he saw a young couple standing near a window. They looked worried. Their daughter, who looked about 6 years old, was crying. "Hello, I'm Benjamin Cole. How can I help you?" he asked gently. The father, whose name was Kevin, explained the situation. "This is our daughter Lucy's first time in space. She's scared. She keeps asking what will happen if something goes wrong. We've tried to calm her down, but she won't stop worrying." Benjamin knelt down so he was at Lucy's eye level. He had done this many times before. Children often got scared during their first space voyage. "Lucy, can I tell you a secret?" he asked. Lucy looked at him with teary eyes. "What secret?" "I'm going to tell you about my favorite part of this ship. Do you want to know what it is?" Lucy nodded slowly. "My favorite part is all the backup systems. That means we have extra copies of everything important. Want to see something cool?" He pulled out his tablet and showed her a simple picture of the ship. It was divided into colored sections. "See these different colored parts?" Benjamin asked. "Each one of these can become its own little spaceship if it needs to. And every single person on this ship knows exactly what to do if there's an emergency. We practice all the time." "Really?" Lucy asked, her tears slowing down. "Really? In fact, we have so many safety systems that it's like wearing a belt and suspenders and also having a rope tied around your waist, just to be extra sure your pants don't fall down." Lucy giggled at the funny image. "And here's something else," Benjamin continued. "A long, long time ago, ships weren't this safe. But every time something went wrong, humans learned from it. They made ships better and better. This ship is the result of more than 100 years of people working hard to keep passengers safe." 100 years? Lucy asked, her eyes wide. "More than that. And you know what? I bet Captain Harris would love to meet you. He really likes talking to young passengers about how safe the ship is. Would you like to visit the bridge?" Lucy's face lit up. "The bridge? Where the captain works. That's right. Let me make a call." An hour later, Lucy and her parents were standing on the bridge. Captain Harris showed them all the controls and explained how everything worked. Lucy asked dozens of questions. By the time they left, she was excited instead of scared. That evening, Benjamin stood in the observation lounge. This was a large room with huge windows showing the stars. Passengers sat in comfortable chairs, talking and laughing. Some were reading. Some were watching the stars. Children ran around playing games. Nicole came to stand beside him. "You really are good with people, you know." Benjamin smiled. "It's not so different from working on cruise ships back on Earth. People want the same things they've always wanted. They want to feel safe. They want to feel special. They want to have experiences they'll remember forever." "But so much has changed," Nicole said. "The technology is so advanced now." "The technology, yes," Benjamin agreed. "But not the human part. That's what makes us different from cargo ships that just move boxes around. We don't just transport people from one place to another. We create memories." He pointed to a corner where a comedian was performing. A group of passengers was laughing at his jokes. "See that? That's what it's all about. Making connections. Creating joy. That's what we've been doing for over a century." Benjamin thought about his grandfather. The old man had worked on a cruise ship called the Queen Mary II in the 2010s. He used to tell Benjamin stories about helping nervous passengers and making sure everyone had a wonderful time. "You know what I love most about this job?" Benjamin said. "We're part of something bigger. Every steward who ever helped a scared passenger, every captain who ever put safety first, every crew member who ever went the extra mile to make someone smile. We're all connected through time." Nicole smiled. "That's a nice way to think about it." "It's the truth," Benjamin said. "When the Titanic sank in 1912, people were terrified. Many thought passenger ships were too dangerous. But humans didn't give up. They made better ships. They made safer ships. They made ships that were like floating palaces." He gestured around at the comfortable lounge. "This ship has restaurants, theaters, gyms, pools, gardens, and observation decks. We have activities for every age. We have food from every culture. We have staff members who speak dozens of languages. All of this comes from more than a century of learning what passengers want and need." Just then, Lucy and her parents walked past. Lucy saw Benjamin and ran over. "Mr. Cole, Mr. Cole." I met the captain. He showed me all the controls and told me about the safety systems. Did you know we have 6 backups for the air system? I did know that, Benjamin said with a big smile. What did you think of the bridge? It was amazing. I'm not scared anymore. The captain said this ship is safer than houses on Earth because houses don't have escape pods. Her parents laughed. Kevin shook Benjamin's hand. Thank you so much. Lucy hasn't stopped talking about it. She's already planning her career as a spaceship captain. After they left, Nicole said, "You changed that little girl's whole experience." That's the job, Benjamin said simply. Every passenger who steps onto this ship is trusting us. They're trusting us with their lives, their time, their vacation, their dreams. That trust is sacred. It was true in 1912 and it's true now in 2125. Did people really trust ships after the Titanic? Nicole asked. It took time, Benjamin admitted. But humans are resilient. We learn, we adapt. After the Titanic, new laws were made. Ships had to carry enough lifeboats. They had to have working radios. They had to follow safety procedures. Slowly, people's trust came back. He walked over to a family sitting by the window. The parents were showing their 2 children the stars and planets. The children pressed their faces against the glass, pointing and laughing. Good evening, Benjamin said. Is everything comfortable for you? Oh yes, the mother said. This is wonderful. We're from a small town on Earth. We've never seen anything like this. Where are you headed? Benjamin asked. Mars. My husband got a new job there. We're nervous but excited. Mars is beautiful, Benjamin told them, and this ship will get you there safely and comfortably. If you need anything at all during the voyage, just let any crew member know. Thank you. Everyone has been so kind. Benjamin moved on, checking with other passengers. An elderly couple celebrating their anniversary. A group of students going to study at a Mars university. A businessman commuting between planets. Each person had their own story, their own reasons for traveling. Later, Benjamin returned to his office. On his wall was a picture of his grandfather standing in front of the Queen Mary II. Next to it was a picture of Benjamin's first day working on a cruise ship. And next to that was a picture from his first day on the horizon's edge. 3 generations, 3 types of ships, but the same mission. Take care of people. Keep them safe. Make their journey memorable. His communicator beeped. It was a message from Captain Harris. Benjamin, excellent work with the young passenger today. Her parents sent me a message saying how grateful they are. Benjamin smiled and sent a reply. Just doing what we've always done, Captain. Taking care of our passengers. He looked out his office window at the stars. Somewhere out there, ships had been sailing for thousands of years. First on rivers, then on oceans, then through space. The vessels changed. The technology improved. But the heart of it remained the same. People taking care of people. Humans helping humans reach new places safely. That was the tradition Benjamin was proud to be part of. When he finally left his office for the night, he walked through the passenger decks one more time. The halls were quiet now. Most people were asleep in their comfortable cabins. The ship hummed softly as it traveled through space toward Mars. Benjamin thought about Lucy, probably asleep now and dreaming of being a captain. He thought about all the passengers, each one trusting the crew to get them safely to their destination. That trust was earned through more than a century of improvement. Every safety feature, every comfortable bed, every trained crew member was part of a long tradition. A tradition that started with tragedy but led to triumph. As Benjamin walked back to his own cabin, he felt grateful. Grateful to be part of this continuing story. Grateful to carry on the work of all those who came before. Grateful that humans never gave up. Never stopped improving. Never stopped reaching for new horizons while keeping each other safe along the way. Commander Patricia Lee had been the chief engineer of the Horizon's Edge for 6 years. She loved her job. Every day, she worked with the most advanced technology humans had ever created. The ship was a masterpiece of engineering, built on more than a century of knowledge and experience. Today, that knowledge was being tested. Patricia stood in the engineering control room. Red warning lights flashed on multiple screens. Alarms beeped urgently. Her team was already at their stations, checking systems and running diagnostics. Talk to me, Gary, Patricia said to her lead systems analyst, Gary Murphy. Gary's fingers moved quickly over his console. We have a cascade failure in the secondary power distribution network. It started at junction 47 and spread to nearby systems. The primary power is fine, but we've lost backup power in sections 12 through 18. Patricia's mind worked fast. She had trained for situations like this. The ship had multiple layers of power systems. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Each one was a backup for the one before it. If one failed, another would take over automatically. Isolate the damaged junctions. Switch to tertiary power systems for those sections. What's the status of life support? Life support is green across the board, Gary reported. Backup systems activated automatically. Good, Patricia said. She felt relieved but stayed focused. That's exactly what we learned from the Titanic. Multiple backups for critical systems. After the Titanic disaster in 1912, engineers had realized something important. Critical systems like life support needed redundancy. That meant having extra copies of everything important. If one system failed, another would take over immediately. The Horizon's Edge took this concept to an extreme level. Life support had 6 completely independent backup systems. Each one could keep everyone alive by itself. The ship could lose 5 systems and still be perfectly safe. Commander, we need to make a decision, said Lieutenant Frank Davis, her deputy. Do we continue to Mars or turn around and go to Luna Station for repairs? Patricia pulled up the system status on her screen. She studied the numbers carefully. This was a critical decision. On old ships, a power failure could mean disaster. But the Horizon's Edge was different. What's our complete system status? She asked. Gary read from his display. Primary power at 100%. Life support at 100% with 5 backup systems ready. Navigation systems fully operational. Emergency systems all working perfectly. The secondary power failure only affects non-essential systems and we can route around it. Patricia made her decision. We continue to Mars. Begin repairs while we travel. I want teams working in shifts until the secondary network is fully restored. Gary, run a complete check on every junction point in the ship. If this was caused by a defect in the parts, I want to find any other weak points before they fail. Yes, Commander, Gary said. Patricia left the control room and headed down to Engineering Deck 7. This was where the repair crews were getting ready to work on the damaged systems. When she arrived, she saw teams of technicians putting on their work suits and gathering their tools. Commander on deck, someone announced. Keep working, Patricia said. She walked over to the team leader, a veteran technician named Helen Carter. How does it look, Helen? Helen was examining a tablet that showed the damaged areas. Not as bad as the alarm suggested, Commander. We have heat damage to 3 junction boxes and the relays connected to them. We're already making replacement parts. The first repairs should be done in about 4 hours. Excellent work. Remember, safety comes first. I don't want anyone taking risks to speed things up. Understood, Commander. We always follow the safety protocols. Those protocols were Patricia's pride. She had helped write many of them. They were based on lessons learned from every major disaster in transportation history. The Costa Concordia cruise ship disaster in 2012 had taught the importance of proper crew training. The crew of that ship had not been properly prepared for an emergency. 32 people had died because the evacuation was chaotic and poorly managed. The Seawall ferry disaster in 2014 had emphasized the need for clear procedures during evacuations. On that ship, passengers had been told to stay in their rooms while the ship was sinking. Over 300 people, mostly students, had died. These tragedies were heartbreaking, but they taught valuable lessons. Patricia made sure every member of her crew knew these stories. She made sure they understood why every protocol existed. Safety rules weren't just bureaucracy. They were written in the memory of people who had died. Patricia returned to her office and began writing her incident report. Captain Harris needed to know exactly what had happened and what was being done about it. She also needed to document everything for the Fleet Engineering Division. They would study this failure and use it to improve future ships. That was how progress worked. Every problem, every failure, every near disaster became a learning opportunity. The knowledge was shared across the entire fleet. Every ship became safer because of it. Her communicator chimed. Commander Lee, this is Captain Harris. Go ahead, Captain. I've reviewed your initial report. I agree with your decision to continue to Mars. I'm confident in your team's ability to handle this. Thank you, sir. We should have full redundancy restored within 18 hours. Excellent. You know, Patricia, my grandfather was an astronaut. He worked on the International Space Station back in the 2020s. He told me stories about how one small failure could threaten the entire mission. They had to fix problems with whatever materials they had on hand. Very different from today, Patricia agreed. That's because of engineers like you, the captain said. Every system on this ship, every backup, every protocol exists because someone in the past faced a crisis and figured out how to prevent it from happening again. Patricia thought about that. Every time we solve a problem, we make the next generation of ships better. Exactly. That's the human way. We learn, we improve, we never give up. After the conversation ended, Patricia looked at the large schematic of the horizon's edge displayed on her wall. The ship was incredibly complex. Thousands of systems working together, millions of parts, countless backup systems and safety features. But it wasn't built overnight. It was the result of centuries of accumulated knowledge. Steam propulsion from the 1800s, diesel engines from the early 1900s, nuclear power from the mid-1900s, fusion, reactors from the late 2000s. Each generation had added to the knowledge base. Patricia thought about the engineers who had worked on the Titanic. They had done their best with the knowledge they had. When the ship was sinking, those engineers had stayed at their posts. They kept the lights on and the pumps running so passengers would have more time to escape. Many of them died doing their duty. Their sacrifice wasn't in vain. After the Titanic, every ship was built better. Every engineer learned from what went wrong. The Titanic's engineers had given their lives, but their legacy lived on in every safety feature, every backup system, every protocol that protected passengers today. Helen's voice came through the communicator. Commander, first junction repaired and tested. All systems are working normally. Outstanding work, Helen. Keep going. Patricia smiled. The ship was healing itself. Crew and machines working together in harmony, just as humans had been doing for over a century. She thought about the bigger picture. Right now, across the solar system, hundreds of passenger ships were traveling. Millions of people were being transported safely. It happened so smoothly that most people never thought about it. But that smoothness was the result of enormous effort. Thousands of engineers designing better systems, thousands of crew members training constantly, thousands of safety inspectors making sure everything met the highest standards, thousands of people learning from the past and building a safer future. Patricia pulled up the repair schedule on her screen. The work was progressing ahead of schedule. Her team was efficient and skilled. By the time they reached Mars, every system would be functioning perfectly. She thought about the families aboard the ship, parents and children, young people starting new lives, elderly couples on vacation, business travelers, students, all of them trusting the crew to keep them safe. That trust was earned through more than a century of continuous improvement. Every passenger who stepped onto a ship was protected by the accumulated knowledge of everyone who had come before. Engineers who had designed better hulls, captains who had written better procedures, crew members who had trained harder, people who had survived disasters and shared their lessons. Patricia looked at a photo on her desk. It showed her class at the engineering academy. 20 young people, all dreaming of working on starships. Now they were scattered across the solar system, each one contributing to humanity's expansion into space. She wondered what ships would look like 100 years from now. Would they travel to other star systems? Would they carry 100,000 passengers? Would they have even more advanced safety features? Whatever the future held, Patricia knew one thing for certain. Those future ships would be built on the knowledge being gathered today. Just as today's ships were built on knowledge from the past, that was the chain that connected all of humanity's achievements. Each generation stood on the shoulders of the previous one. Each success was built on lessons learned from failures. 3 days later, the horizon's edge approached Mars. Captain William Harris stood on the bridge and watched the red planet grow larger in the windows. All the repairs were complete. Every system was working perfectly. They had successfully delivered 12,000 passengers across millions of kilometers of space. Mars traffic control has cleared us for standard orbit, Lieutenant Amy Brooks reported. We can begin sending passengers down to the surface. Thank you, Amy. Start the departure procedures, William said. Down in the main passenger terminal, Benjamin Cole and his team were helping families prepare to leave the ship. People gathered their belongings and said goodbye to crew members they had befriended during the voyage. Lucy and her parents approached Benjamin. The little girl was wearing a junior pilot badge that Captain Harris had given her. She had worn it every day since her visit to the bridge. "Mr. Cole, we wanted to thank you before we leave," Kevin said, shaking Benjamin's hand warmly. "Lucy hasn't stopped talking about the ship. She tells everyone how safe it is and how amazing the crew is. She already wants to take another trip." Lucy tugged on Benjamin's sleeve. "I'm going to be a captain when I grow up." Just like Captain Harris, Benjamin knelt down and smiled at her. "Then study hard and stay curious. That's what all the great captains do. Never stop learning." "I won't," Lucy promised. She hugged Benjamin quickly, then ran back to her mother. As the family walked toward the shuttle, Benjamin felt a warm feeling in his chest. This was why he did this job, not just to help people travel, but to inspire them, to create memories that would last forever. Nicole stood beside him. Another successful voyage. 12,000 passengers, all delivered safely. "And that's exactly how it should be," Benjamin said. In the engineering section, Commander Patricia Lee was conducting a final meeting with her team. Everyone looked tired but satisfied. "Outstanding work, everyone," Patricia said. "We faced an unexpected challenge and solved it without compromising safety or passenger comfort." The junction failure was caused by a tiny flaw in the manufacturing process. Our detection systems couldn't have caught it before it failed. But now we know what to look for. I've already sent my recommendations to the entire fleet. Every ship will benefit from what we learned. Gary Murphy raised his hand. "Commander, the repair techniques we developed, they were pretty innovative. Should we document them for other engineers?" "Absolutely," Patricia said. "That's how knowledge grows. Someone 50 years from now might face a similar problem. They'll have our solutions to learn from. That's the chain connecting us to the engineers of the Titanic, the Apollo missions, the first Mars ships. We all contribute our knowledge to help future generations." The team nodded, understanding. They weren't just fixing problems. They were building the foundation for safer ships in the future. On the observation deck, Dr. Karen Phillips stood with her students. They watched Mars fill the window, its red surface marked with canyons, mountains, and the domes of human settlements. "Professor," Danny said, "I think I finally understand what you were teaching us. Tell me what you understand." "Danny, it's not just about bigger ships or faster engines. It's about humans learning from every voyage, every mistake, every success. The Titanic sank because they didn't have enough lifeboats and couldn't call for help fast enough. So humans invented better communication systems and made safety rules. Early cruise ships were just for transportation, but humans made them into vacation destinations. Early spaceships were dangerous, but humans used everything they learned from ocean travel to make them safe." Karen smiled proudly. "Go on. And now we're here, traveling between planets like people used to travel between continents. In another 100 years, maybe we'll travel between stars. Each generation will build on what we learned." "Exactly right, Danny," Karen said. "That's humanity's greatest strength. We don't accept limits. We keep pushing forward, we keep innovating, we keep protecting each other." Lisa pointed at Mars. "What happens next? Where do we go from here?" "Wherever human curiosity takes us," Karen replied. "There are already plans for ships twice the size of this one. Engineers are designing generation ships that could travel to other star systems. These would be so large that people could live their whole lives aboard them. Towns, schools, farms, everything. And they'll be safe?" Lisa asked. "They'll be built using everything we've learned from over a century of experience," Karen said. "Every lesson from every ship that ever sailed will be part of their design." On the bridge, Captain William Harris was recording his final log entry for the voyage. "This is Captain William Harris of the Galactic Cruiser Horizon's Edge, completing voyage 762 from Earth to Mars. Passenger count 12,000, all delivered safely. We encountered and successfully resolved a secondary power distribution failure. Full documentation has been submitted to Fleet Engineering for review." He paused, thinking carefully about his next words. "During my time as captain, I've learned that every successful voyage is built on the foundation laid by those who came before us. From the tragic maiden voyage of the Titanic in 1912 to today, humanity has continuously learned, adapted, and improved. We took the lessons of over a century of passenger transportation and applied them to traveling the stars. What makes us truly human isn't that we never fail. It's that we learn from our failures. We honor those lessons and use them to protect future generations. Every safety system on this ship, every protocol we follow, every crew member represents humanity's commitment to making travel not just possible, but safe, comfortable, and inspiring. As we look to the next century of passenger travel, to journeys beyond Mars, perhaps one day to stars beyond our sun, we carry with us the accumulated wisdom of every captain, engineer, crew member, and passenger who ever took a voyage. That's our legacy, and that's our promise to the future. William ended the recording and stood. He looked around the bridge at his crew. These were professionals who had trained for years to operate this incredible ship. Beyond them were 12,000 passengers, each with their own stories and dreams. And behind them all was more than a century of innovation, sacrifice, and determination. The Titanic to today. From tragedy to triumph, from one ocean to an entire solar system, it had been a long journey, but humanity had never given up. As the shuttles began ferrying passengers down to Mars, William thought about what came next. This voyage was ending, but tomorrow there would be another, and another, and another, each one building on the knowledge of the past. He thought about Lucy, the little girl who had been scared at the start of the voyage, but now dreamed of being a captain. She represented the future. In 20 years, maybe she would be standing on a bridge like this, commanding her own ship. And when she did, she would carry with her all the lessons of the past. The importance of safety from the Titanic, the value of comfort from the great cruise ships, the engineering excellence from the first space vessels, the dedication to passenger care that had been passed down through generations. Benjamin joined William on the bridge. All passengers safely disembarked, Captain. We received over 1,000 positive reviews. Several families have already booked their next voyage. Excellent work, Benjamin. Your team did an outstanding job. We all did, Benjamin said. From the captain to the newest steward, everyone played their part. Patricia arrived next with her final engineering report. All systems functioning at peak efficiency, Captain. The repairs held perfectly. I've recommended some modifications for the next class of ships based on what we learned. Outstanding, Commander. Your quick thinking prevented what could have been a serious situation. That's what we train for, Patricia said simply. The three of them stood together, looking out at Mars. They represented different aspects of the ship's operation, but they all shared the same goal: keep people safe, make their journeys memorable, honor the legacy of those who came before. You know, William said, my great-great-grandfather would have been amazed by all this. He worked on ocean liners in the 1920s, just after the Titanic disaster. Those ships could barely cross one ocean. Now we cross space itself. But the principles are the same, Benjamin added. Care for the passengers. Maintain the ship. Work as a team. Those things haven't changed in over a century. And they never will, Patricia agreed. Because at the heart of it all, we're still humans taking care of humans. The technology changes, but that core truth remains constant. As the last shuttle departed and the Horizon's Edge prepared to return to Earth for its next voyage, the crew felt a sense of accomplishment. They had successfully completed another mission. They had kept everyone safe. They had created wonderful experiences for thousands of people. But more than that, they had continued a tradition that stretched back over 100 years. A tradition of learning from the past, serving the present, and building for the future. The Titanic had taught humanity that the sea demanded respect, that safety couldn't be taken for granted, that every life mattered. Those lessons had been learned through tragedy, but they had led to more than a century of improvement. Now, as humans traveled between planets and dreamed of traveling between stars, those lessons remained as important as ever. The vessels had changed. The destinations had changed. But the commitment to safety, to care. Captain William Harris stood at the large window of his ship and watched Earth become smaller and smaller. The blue planet looked like a tiny marble now. It was the year 2125, and William was the captain of a huge passenger ship called the Horizon's Edge. This ship didn't sail on water. It traveled through space. William thought about the old days. He had studied history at the Space Academy. One story always stayed in his mind. It was about a ship called the Titanic. That ship sank in 1912, more than 200 years ago. The Titanic was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean when it hit an iceberg. Over 1,500 people died that night. It was one of the worst disasters in history. The Titanic was supposed to be unsinkable. People believed nothing could destroy it. But they were wrong. The ship didn't have enough lifeboats. The radio operator called for help, but other ships were too far away. By the time help arrived, it was too late. William's great-great-grandfather had worked on ships after the Titanic disaster. He was an engineer who helped make ships safer. After the Titanic sank, everything changed. New laws were made. Every ship had to carry enough lifeboats for everyone. Ships had to have better radios. They had to have stronger walls inside to stop water from flooding the whole ship. "Captain Harris, we are getting close to the Mars travel path," said Lieutenant Amy Brooks. She was the navigation officer. Her voice brought William back to the present. "Thank you, Lieutenant." "Keep going at the same speed," William said. The Horizon's Edge was enormous. It carried 12,000 passengers and crew members. The Titanic had only carried about 2,200 people. William's ship was much bigger, but it was also much safer. Every person on the ship had many ways to escape if something went wrong. There were small emergency pods. There were large sections of the ship that could break away and fly on their own. William walked around the bridge. This was the control room where he and his crew operated the ship. Through the windows, he could see stars everywhere. Space was beautiful but also dangerous. "Sir, we are receiving a distress call," Amy suddenly said. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "It's coming from a ship called the Wanderer. They are in trouble." William felt his heart beat faster. This was serious. "Where are they?" "About 40,000 kilometers away from us. They say their life support system is failing. That's the system that gives them air to breathe." William didn't hesitate. "Change our direction. Go to them now. Get the medical team ready. Get the engineers ready too. Tell the Wanderer that help is coming." The crew moved quickly. Everyone knew what to do. They had practiced for emergencies many times. This was very different from the old days. When the Titanic was sinking, there were no other ships nearby. The Titanic was alone in the dark ocean. Today, ships were never alone. There were satellites everywhere. There were space stations. There were other ships. Everyone was connected. William watched his crew work. The Horizon's Edge turned smoothly. The engines pushed them toward the Wanderer. On the screens, William could see information about the ship in trouble. It was a civilian transport ship. It was registered at Europa Station, which was on one of Jupiter's moons. The Wanderer had 300 people on board. "How long until we reach them?" William asked. 30 minutes at our current speed," Amy replied. "Can they last that long?" "Yes, sir. Their emergency backup system is working, but it won't last more than 2 hours." William nodded. They would reach the Wanderer in time. He thought about how different this was from the past. In 1912, when the Titanic sent its distress call, the closest ship was hours away. By the time that ship arrived, the Titanic was gone. Most of the people had frozen to death in the cold water. Now help could arrive quickly. The Horizon's Edge had special shuttlecraft that could fly fast. They had doctors and nurses with advanced medical equipment. They had engineers who could fix almost anything. They had enough supplies to help thousands of people. "We're getting close, Captain," Amy said. William could see the Wanderer on the main screen now. It was a smaller ship, but it looked sturdy. Lights were flashing on its hull. Those were emergency lights. "Open a communication channel," William ordered. A moment later, a woman's face appeared on the screen. She looked worried but relieved. "This is Captain Jane Morton of the Wanderer. Thank you for responding to our call. This is Captain William Harris of the Horizon's Edge. We're here to help. What's your situation?" "Our main life support system had a complete failure. We're running on backup power, but it won't last long. We have 300 passengers, including 70 children." "Understood. We're sending our shuttles now. We'll evacuate everyone to our ship. Our engineers will look at your life support system and see if we can fix it." "Thank you, Captain." "We were scared we wouldn't make it." William smiled. "You're safe now. That's what we're here for." The rescue took less than 2 hours. The shuttles flew back and forth between the two ships. Families came aboard the Horizon's Edge carrying their belongings. Children held their parents' hands. Old people were helped by the crew. The medical team checked everyone to make sure they were healthy. Meanwhile, a team of engineers flew to the Wanderer. They found the problem with the life support system and began repairs. The ship could be fixed. It would be towed to the nearest space station. William stood in the main passenger hall and watched the families from the Wanderer. They were hugging each other. Some were crying with relief. Children were laughing and running around, happy to be safe. A little boy walked up to William. He looked about 7 years old. "Are you the captain?" The boy asked. "Yes, I am." "What's your name?" "I'm Peter. Thank you for saving us." I was scared. William knelt down so he was at Peter's eye level. You're safe now, Peter. That's the most important thing. Why did you help us? Peter asked. William thought about the question. Because that's what humans do. We help each other. A long time ago, ships couldn't help each other fast enough, but we learned from those times. We made better ships. We made better systems. We made sure that no one would be alone when they needed help. Peter smiled and ran back to his mother. William stood up and looked around. Every safety feature on his ship, every piece of equipment, every rule and procedure came from lessons learned over more than a century. The Titanic had taught humanity about lifeboats and compartments. Other disasters had taught other lessons. Each time something went wrong, humans learned and made things better. That was the human way. They didn't give up. They learned from mistakes. They built on the knowledge of the past. And now, more than 200 years after the Titanic, humans were traveling between planets, keeping each other safe among the stars. William returned to the bridge. Set course for Mars, he ordered. We have passengers to deliver. The horizon's edge turned smoothly and continued its journey. Behind it, the Wanderer was being towed to safety. Everyone was alive. Everyone was safe. That was what mattered most.